the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Pac-12 football predictions today, and our next team just went 7-6 last year, but made one of the most intriguing hires of the offseason and are looking to make their second straight bowl game. They are the Arizona State Sun Devils. I was very surprised to see Arizona State fire Todd Graham after 6 seasons with the Sun Devils. He took them to 5 bowl games during those 6 years, including back-to-back 10-win seasons, and last year having a fairly solid year going 7-5 and including a major upset win over Washington. So he had a fairly solid year last year, but the Arizona State administration let him go, and now they bring in Herm Edwards, who I think is one of the most intriguing hires of this entire offseason. The last time he coached in college football in any capacity was back when he was defensive coordinator for San Jose State in 1989. He served as their defensive coordinator for 3 years. So it's been a pretty long time since Herm Edwards has coached at the college football level, and a long time since he's coached football in general. We know that he coached in the NFL with the Jets and the Chiefs from 2001 to 2008, but only put together a 54-74 combined record with those two teams. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he can make the adjustment from not coaching for so long and then jumping back from the NFL ranks to the college ranks. But I think he could do a pretty decent job if they just give him a little bit of time. He inherits a decent team this year with 8 returning starters on offense, including their star quarterback in Manny Wilkins, who put up some great numbers through the air last year, but also put up some decent numbers on the ground, including 7 rushing touchdowns. So he's obviously going to be the leader for this offense and going to be a key part of Arizona State's success if they want to try to get back to a second straight bowl game. They returned some solid wide receivers in N'Keal Harry, Kyle Williams, and Frank Darby. Jalen Harvey, who also was a leading receiver last year for the Sun Devils, he also returns but moves from the wide receiving position to the defensive back position. So still going to have some talent and some speed. He's just not going to be there at the wide receiver position. They also returned 3 offensive linemen for the Sun Devils, so that's going to be huge for them as well. On defense, they only returned 4 starters, and 3 of those 4 starters are all in the secondary. And of course, you do add Jalen Harvey into that as well. You have Chase Lucas and Kobe Williams that are going to be leading the defensive backs as well as J.J. Wilson, who's going to be the leader of this linebacking core. So this is a defense that's mostly upperclassmen, mostly juniors and seniors. So despite only returning 4 starters on that side of the ball, should be fairly solid. And they're going to have a pretty tough schedule. Herm Edwards is going to have his work cut out for him in year 1 with the Sun Devils. They open up with Texas San Antonio, and I think that's a great way to kind of kick off this Herm Edwards era. Should get a decent win and somewhat easy win over the Roadrunners there. And then Michigan State at home. This is one of those under-the-radar games that people aren't paying a lot of attention to, but could be sneaky good in week 2. Michigan State, a team that I'm extremely high on in the Big Ten, returning 19 starters. Mark D'Antonio, a heck of a head coach. But you got Brian Lewerke at quarterback, L.J. Scott at the running back position, a very solid offense that returns 10 starters, and then 9 starters on the defensive side of the ball. Michigan State, a team that I really think could compete against the Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State in their division and challenge them for that Big Ten championship. And I'm going to give Arizona State a loss here. Arizona State, yes, does have some talent, and even though it is on the road, I think Michigan State's just going to have too much for this Arizona State team. I think that defense is going to be able to bottle up Manny Wilkins. If they can take away that passing game, Michigan State should be able to coast to victory. But I do expect it to be a really fun game to watch out there in the desert. On the road against San Diego State. Now, a game that Arizona State certainly can't afford to overlook because last year they lost at home to the Aztecs 30-20. They lost by 10 points, 2 possessions to the San Diego State team last year. And this is going to be another solid team. A great quarterback battle, I think, between Manny Wilkins and Christian Chapman of San Diego State. But I think Arizona State's going to have a little bit of revenge on their mind. San Diego State loses their star running back. I believe it was in Rashad Penny. So you take away that strong running game. Christian Chapman, not a bad quarterback, but not one of the elite in the Mountain West. And I think Arizona State gets their revenge on the Aztecs and goes on the road and gets a big-time win over San Diego State. Then on the road at Washington. As you can remember, last year, Arizona State put together one of their best defensive performances of the entire year, only holding Washington and their high-octane offense to 7 points, winning that game 13-7 at home. This year, it's at Washington, and this is a Washington team that I really think could make the college football playoff, much like they did 2 years ago. I love Drake Browning at quarterback. I love Myles Gaskin at the running back position. Both have the opportunity to potentially be the leading passer and rushers, respectively, in Washington history. history. It's on the road. Washington's going to want the revenge after that lone loss that they had last year, or that loss on the road they had last year. I think Arizona State takes a loss on the road to a very, very dangerous Huskies team. Comes back home, though, gets the win over an Oregon State team that I certainly think will struggle this season. Jonathan Smith coming in as a new head coach, tons of coaching changes in the Pac-12. He might be the right guy for the job for the Beavers eventually. It's just not going to be this year. It's going to be another rebuilding year for the Beavers. On the road at Colorado. Last year they beat the Buffaloes 41-30, and that was with solid teams on both sides. But this year, this is a Colorado team that, despite only returning 10 starters, I really think will take a step in the right direction towards getting back to bowl eligibility, much like they did 2 years ago when they played in the Pac-12 championship game. Last time this game was played at Colorado, the Buffaloes just annihilated the Sun Devils, and I expect that to not, of course, happen this year, but I do expect Colorado to get the win on their home turf. So I'm going to give Arizona State a loss here. I just have too much faith in this Colorado offense. I think they're going to be able to exploit some weaknesses in this Arizona State defense to get a win at home. This is a Colorado team that almost made a bowl game last year. Mike McIntyre doing a great job with the Buffaloes. I do expect them to get back to a bowl game. A bye week going into Stanford on a short week. So they only have 5 days after that bye week to prepare for the Cardinal. And this is a Stanford team that, as well, I think is Washington's probably biggest threat in the Pac-12 North. KJ Costello at quarterback. Bryce Love, obviously a Heisman front-runner at the running back position. This is going to be a huge test for Herm Edwards in this defense. If they can bottle up Bryce Love, that's going to be huge. Then you've got to stop KJ Costello through the air. And he put up some big numbers last year when Keller Crisp was down with an injury. And I really do think and Stanford's going to put up some big numbers in this game as well. So even though it is at home for Arizona State, I think they will lose to the Cardinal. Stanford, a team that probably should get back to a 9-win, 10-win season. David Shaw doing a great job there as always. And I'm going to give Arizona State a loss here. I'm also going to give them a loss on the road to USC. A USC team that, yes, loses their star quarterback and Sam Darnold. Should be able to place him, whether it's with Mac Fink or JT Daniels or something like that. But, you know, right now, this is a USC team that is going to be on the road for Arizona State. USC, a very difficult place to play, and despite losing their quarterback, has plenty of talent on both sides of the ball to remain a factor in the Pac-12 South. So I think USC will be able to get the job done here, and that's 3 straight losses for Arizona State. So right now, they are, 3-5, I believe? Yeah, 3-5 going in to November. So 3 wins away. They got to win 3 of their last 4 games to get to a bowl game in the first year of the Herm Edwards era. And you got to keep in mind how difficult of a schedule this is for Arizona State. Drawing from the North, Washington, Stanford, and Oregon, 2 of those on the road. So that's a very, very difficult schedule for them. Michigan State in non-conference play. San Diego State, a team that they got to face on the road and who they lost to last year. So it's not an easy schedule for Herm Edwards in year 1. They go back home to face Utah and UCLA. Both of these games I think are winnable. And I think Arizona State pulls off a big-time upset over a Utah team that I like this year, a Utah team that I think could get to their first Pac-12 championship game this year. I'm going to give them a win over the Utes. I think they know what's at stake. Herm Edwards will have his team fired up for this game. And I think they get a big-time win over Utah here. And this game is going to be mostly in thanks to their offense. I think Arizona State's going to be able to put up some big numbers thanks to Wilkins and this offense. It's going to start gelling, and they're going to get a win over the Utes. And now I think they get another win, so back-to-back wins over the Bruins of UCLA. And this is a team that UCLA, you know, brings in Chip Kelly, which is great, and eventually that will really pay off. It's just not going to pay off this year. This is a UCLA team that loses a lot of talent on both sides of the ball and has probably the most difficult schedule in the entire nation. So this is a UCLA team that I do not think will make a bowl game this year, and a team that I really do think will struggle in Chip Kelly's first year or will be a threat in the next few years. And then right now, if you look at it, they're just 1 win away from bowl eligibility in Herm Edwards' first year, which would be huge for them. But their final 2 games are against difficult teams in Oregon and Arizona, and they are both on the road. And we'll start over here with Oregon. And the key for this game, as always, is to keep Justin Herbert healthy. If Herbert's not healthy for this game, I have a lot more faith that Arizona State can go on the road and beat the Ducks. But I think Herbert will stay healthy, will continue to be one of the better quarterbacks in the entire nation, a high draft pick in next year's NFL draft. I think they go on the road and lose to Oregon, a team that I really do think could compete against Washington and Stanford in the Pac-12 North, and a team that's defense doesn't get a whole lot of credit, but will be a major threat this season. Then on the road against Arizona, winner take all really. If Arizona State wins, they go to a bowl game. If not, they go to their second 5-7 season in the past 3 years. And unfortunately, I'm going to give the Sun Devils a loss to the Wildcats. And this is an Arizona team that is very, very dangerous. They're going to have to contain Khalil Tate, which they did a good job of last year. Last year they beat Arizona at home 42-30. So if they can do that again, this time being on the road, they're bowl eligible. But this is they're led by Khalil Tate at the quarterback position. Kevin Sumlin comes in as head coach. He knows how to work with these type of offenses, knows how to utilize that talent at the quarterback position. And this is a very, very strong Arizona defense that returns 9 starters on that side of the ball. So even if Arizona State shuts down the Wildcats offense, can Arizona State generate enough offense to go up against a very difficult Arizona defense? And I don't know if that's going to be able to happen this year, especially with it being on the road. So I'm going to give Arizona State a 5-7 record in Herm Edwards' first year with the Sun Devils. And honestly, I think that's fairly respectable. I know some people might consider that a waste of talent or a wasted year because you do have a very potent offense and a very solid quarterback in Manny Wilkins and a defense that certainly isn't getting a lot of attention and should be better than expected. But like I said earlier, this is an extremely, extremely difficult schedule playing Michigan State, San Diego State in non-conference play, and then Washington, Stanford, and Oregon, facing Washington and Oregon on the road. I mean, right there, you could potentially have 4 losses there, even though I am giving them a win over San Diego State. This is an extremely tough schedule for the Sun Devils. Herm Edwards will have his work cut out for him, but I do think that in the end, this will be the right hire for the Sun Devils, and I cannot wait to see how Herm Edwards does in year 1 with Arizona State. So as always, please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert, on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. And we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.